brand new head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers, Nick Nurse. Hello, Mr. Nurse.
Hello, everybody. Great to see you. Thanks for having me on.
We don't
tradition?
recognize you without the initials on the forehead.
Tradition. No, I was out there getting a little sunshine today and sporting my new do. I don't know.
Oh, wow. Do you and Wendy use the same product? It looks good.
It's a do. It's the only do without a hat. It's now you know why I wear a hat.
Listen, a few years ago, we had you on the podcast. Then you won the championship. A year later, we had Michael Malone on the Finals podcast, and he's on the verge of winning the championship. Maybe a year or so from now, we'll have Michael Malone back, or have another coach back, and we'll be talking about Nick Nurse trying to get one more win for the 76ers.
I like how Brian is taking credit for your title here, Nick. That's good work on his part.
It's all part of the long range plan of getting back to the title. Thanks, the Reverend, the Rev.
I think Nick would say every time he's a first year head coach with a new team, he wins a championship.
That's right.
That's the trend. That
At least in the NBA. I will say this. We've heard some of your stories over the years about coaching overseas and coaching in the G League. You've won championships all over, like at every level. But it had to be nice, you become a coaching free agent, and like a whole bunch of teams wanted to talk to you. Like that must be considering that what you had to go through to get your first NBA job. The fact that you had so many teams interested in you this time around, that can't be too bad.
No, that was interesting. It didn't kind of look that way when I became a free agent. It looked like there was, and then all of a sudden, it seemed like about after every loss there was another job open, right? So yeah, that was it was interesting. It was quite the experience there for 5 or 6 days. Seemed like I was in a city talking to somebody not in the city of the team. It seemed like I was in Detroit talking to Phoenix, and in Miami talking to Philly, and then it was strange, kind of trying to figure it all out, but very happy with where it landed. I'm got some history with Daryl. I think the ownership here is amazing. Obviously, good team. I've wrestled with these guys a lot over the last couple of years, so do know the team pretty well. So super excited to be here. Yeah.
I can only imagine what that call with Joel was like when you were getting the job.
Well, you know what? It was good. It was I've had a couple, kind of maybe 2 or 3 kind of longish, I would say, meetings with him, and that whole thing. I didn't really realize how much we were going at it, kind of, in the heat of the moment. But I happened to catch a few while I was in Philly on this, sports news, and I was like, man, now I know what everybody's talking about. They were always like, they were always, I don't know what, they were very spirited, but never like, he was making valid points, and I was trying to make my own valid points, back and forth with each other. And then as that went on through the years, it just kind of turned into he'd come out at the jump ball and he'd look over and glare at me, and I'd glare at him, and we both kind of smile and get ready to go at it again, so he's an interesting guy. Good dude. Yeah.
What was that process like for you? Like you said, you were obviously bouncing around from meeting to meeting. It's almost sort of like a college recruitment tour, felt like, in some ways, going from kind of one thing to the next. What was that like? Because obviously you're going into these meetings and you're talking about, specific things with each of these organizations and kind of analyzing them all. Like, sort of what was going through your mind as you were trying to bounce from, one team to another for, over the course of 4 or 5 days, and analyze the different jobs and talking to different people and figuring out what you might want to do?
Yeah, I would imagine it would be like, the other way around, when the teams are interviewing a whole bunch of people and they get it's very informative. It was very informative to listen to, their side of the story, or them ask me how I saw their side of the story, and bounce a lot of things off. And, and you don't really know a lot of these people. Obviously, some of them I was meeting for the first time, or you meet them and talk to them a little bit, and then all of a sudden you're spending some pretty intense long hours with them, talking about things. But mostly it was just interesting and informative. Yeah.
So aside from you agreeing with Embiid that he doesn't get nearly enough calls now. What are the type of things that you guys are talking about? Like, do you come in there with points of emphasis of things that you want to work with him, maybe wrinkles to the offense? Does he come in the same way? What do those discussions look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think is a very good team, and I don't know where you guys kind of saw them this year, but I saw them as a team with a chance.
Mhm.
They're
I did for
team
sure.
with a chance, right? And I felt that way as well. So I don't think this is not a transformational type job where you're like got to change. I think they're very, very close, and you already kind of said it. It's probably wrinkles and tweaks and got to dig into it a little more before I figure out what some of that stuff is. But I think a lot of it's just going to be a vision of trying to get where everybody wants to go, and then a plan that aligns with that vision.
You've got a busy summer, man, because so you're coaching, you're integrating with your new team. I know it's typical for a coach to have meetings face to face or on the phone with new
Mhm.
players. Got to assemble a staff. And then you're coaching the Canadian national team this summer in the World Cup. And you guys are
There's free agency as well.
free agency. I think there might be free agent in Philly. I don't remember.
Draft, summer league, free agency.
Yeah.
12 months a year, Rev, just like you, man. It's 12 months a year, man.
As we hear all the time.
You guys got an absolutely brutal draw in the World Cup. But you're a live team, man. You guys got a shot at this sucker. Your U16 team, toe to toe all the way to the championship today. And it's you got a busy summer, Nick.
Yeah, I sure do. We're working.
Good question.
We're working pretty hard. We're working pretty
Open-ended.
hard, Yeah, I mean, listen, you're right. I'm trying to just prioritize it. Obviously, the short-term things, like you mentioned, I'm just about finished up seeing all the players face to face here for the Sixers. Should have that done by the end of this week. Hiring staff simultaneously. We're getting closer on that, and then obviously we'll be here for draft, putting a summer league team together, and we'll just kind of take it step by step. And as far as Canada goes, we've had a lot of consistency, or we got a lot of the staff working together that we stayed together through this whole last 3-year run, and those guys are doing great as far as organizing things and getting us ready to go. And Rowan Barrett and Michael Bartlett at Team Canada are ready and fired up.
Jamal Murray and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Now that's a backcourt. So
That's not bad.
I don't know if Jamal's going to play this summer, but I'll bet he's going to play next summer. And if you can get qualified for those Olympics, and look out. That's a good backcourt.
There's some good guys. I think there's some great commitment. I think you're right. Jamal's going, he's going about as far as he can go this year, it looks like. So it should be a short turnaround for him, but we'll see. He's always been very committed, and it's not been easy for him, obviously, with some of the injuries and stuff. But Shai's super committed. Lou Dort, Dwight Powell, Kelly Olynyk, Big Zach is in the mix, and we're looking forward to seeing. I think
Zach Edey. People don't realize Zach Edey, National College Player of the Year.
Yeah, and a lot of other guys that I didn't talk about too. So there's a team there. Yeah.
You obviously were, speaking of Canada, as Tim said earlier, you took over the Raptors 2018, led them to the title. And as we all know, the Raptors had a bunch of times they'd fallen short in the playoffs. And part of, I think, you taking that job was kind of, and obviously Kawhi helped with this, was sort of resetting the mindset of where the franchise could go in the postseason. Obviously, we all know that Philly has gotten to the second round, including that epic series against you guys, including this year against Boston, had a bunch of close calls in the second round to keep bumping up against the ceiling of getting out of the second round. You talked about this a little bit when you got introduced, but is part of your job to try to reframe that and have that become something for you guys to attack as a group, instead of it sort of being something that's hanging over your heads, especially in a city where everybody's ready to get negative about something?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's reality, right? There's two things you look at it. It's reality. It's the truth. It's not. It's where we are. It's what's happened, and it's where we are. But I don't really see. I see each season as kind of its own entity, and what's happened in the last whatever how many years as will have no bearing in my mind, and that's my message going forward. And that's two things. You got to acknowledge it. Like, we're going to get judged on how we play in the playoffs. Right. I don't think 45, 55, 65 is going to matter that much. It's going to be, how far you go in the playoffs. So I think you acknowledge that as a fact, and you be mindful of that. And that means, you kind of got your short-term goals, but there is a plan to get through the entire season and be ready to be really good at the playoff time.
So
Yeah, your press conference was pretty, I think for the Philly fans are coming in there ready to fire off, not fans, but the Philly media was coming there ready to fire from the hip. And you were like, no, I'm going to do your job for you. I'm going to come out and say exactly what you're trying to get me to say. You came with your game face on that press conference.
Well, it was, you guys have talked to me enough. I'm going to try to tell you what I see is as the way I see it, and if I don't quite answer it one way, I guess you can go ahead and answer it and ask me another way, or try to get to the
Right.
to the answer, that we're all happy with in the end. Yeah.
That reminds me when Rick Carlisle once asked me how many ways do I want to ask him the same question, and my reply was one. You haven't answered, which was true. I just kept asking the same question. He answered it with his eyes, and I moved on to the next subject.
So, Nick, back in 2019, when you brought the title home to Toronto, you guys were up 3-1 coming home. Now, the circumstances of that finals were a little different, and that Kevin Durant was coming back from injury. So there was this belief that the Warriors might have a rally within them. So it's not exactly apples to apples, but the situation that the Nuggets are in here, 3-1, they have been an extremely impressive team down the stretch here. They have won 9 out of 10 games ever since the Suns even the series that they had in the second round of 2-2. They've won 9 out of 10. Miami has lost 6 of 8. It's actually kind of hard to get to the finals and lose 6-8, but they did it.
they lost 4 straight home games, which seems impossible to do as a finals team, but they've
except they played the Boston Celtics. We know that it's very possible.
Right, which is one of the reasons why I think they've won 4 of the last 5 road games in the playoffs. So you've kind of been in this situation before, and then Durant ended up getting hurt, and you lost that game before coming back and winning in game 6, where you guys went 3-0 to close Oracle Arena. Unstoppable force that the Warriors were at Oracle. They lost their last 3 games there to you guys. But anyway, so we saw Michael Malone today and the Nuggets players with their mindset of, we're not actually up 3-1, we're down 3-1, which, is not true. But you've actually got a unique perspective on this, because the ball was in the same court for you guys a couple years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about that today, that you obviously playing very good. You think you got a lot of the game plan right where you want it. Boy, winning at home, you're starting to think, man, won't this be awesome if we can close this thing out in our own city? And I think we were up 6 with about 3 minutes to go in that game. Amazing timeout for a little rest and regroup, turn the tide the other direction. I think they hit 3 straight threes and ended up, taking that one from us at home. But I think, yeah, I mean, it's you feel like you're thinking, let's do it now. We don't want to go back there, all those things. Because if you do go back, then all of a sudden, you're battling a road game. I don't know. I don't think the series is over. I know Denver's been great. I think Miami will give them everything they want tomorrow. I think that closeout game is super hard, and even no matter what it looks like as it's going down there, it can change in the last few minutes, and you can sneak out of there and go keep the series alive. I think it'll be a good game.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus right now.